Wildlife management is our focus. We've kept a lot of the property also in agriculture, commercial agriculture, but we've split that number down to maybe a third of our tillable acres are now actually being tilled, and the other 2/3 or so is in conservation programs. And we've used a lot of the federal and state conservation programs such as CRP, CREP, EQIP. We go through NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which often will help manage or cost share some of the programs with Farm Service Agency, who administers the federal programs.
So CRP is the Conservation Reserve Program. It's a program administered by the Farm Service Agency, and it allows landowners or producers to take cropland or marginal pasture land out of production for 10 to 15 years, just depending on the practice. There's a wide variety that people can implement on their farm. So it can be everything from shallow water areas to wetland restorations. We do filter strips, riparian buffers. There's habitat for upland birds. There's just there's probably, 25 different practices that someone can install on their property. So we'll help you basically with the administrative side, and then we'll put you in touch with the technical side for CRP, and that's the Natural Resource Conservation Service.
I am the northern bobwhite biologist for the eastern shore of Maryland. So I work with landowners, hooking them up with programs administered through FSA and NRCS. The biggest thing for CRP and CREP is that you can set the land in a contract for a long term. So you're looking at 10 to 15 years that you can manage the land, and the landowner gets paid annually, to do that management. So it's nice to kind of use that for quail, because we can say that so now we have a 10-year period that this area can be managed, for northern bobwhite, and the landowner's getting compensated for it. And we're checking in to make sure that it's still to our specs. So it's really nice being able to use those where we can.
Quail have struggled over the last 20 or 30 years due to changes in farming practices, predator-prey dynamics. There's a lot more hawks around than there used to be, a lot more red foxes, a lot more nest predators in general, raccoons, skunks, black snakes. So we've done what we could to try to set the table for the quail, not necessarily control those other elements as much as give the quail as big a chance as we could with proper habitat, because that's what's mostly been missing in today's world. Quail habitat in general is early successional. They like first, second, and third year disturbances, like after a fire or a flood or a land clearing from logging or whatever it might be. That 2 and 3 year growth that comes back first, which is grasses, forbs, wildflowers, that's where they thrive. And that's the kind of freeze frame that we're trying to recreate in Mother Nature's successional march to put this back into forest. And the CRP programs are really good at installing those practices, because when you start from taking ground out of agriculture, that is a disturbance. So you're starting at a year one disturbance when you go into CRP. And the trick is to try to maintain that second and third year disturbance throughout the life of the contract, which is either 10 or 15 years. And that is some work. You have to manage it. You can't just build it and walk away. When I've got on the ground habitat management questions, NRCS personnel or DNR personnel will come out, and we've had a good relationship for the last 20 years. And they'll give me ideas. They'll come to me for ideas sometimes too, because they are always trying to get new people interested in putting habitat in on their property. Sometimes they'll bring those potential clients out here for a tour and show them kind of what they can expect their property to look like.
I've brought a few landowners out here to kind of survey the property and look at it. If they're interested in doing quail habitat, it's nice to let them know, what it looks like, and, even hear a bird and kind of get them excited about it. And, I've really seen a great response, taking landowners out here. It just, adds more fuel to the fire for them to do conservation programs.
We've seen the wildlife numbers just go through the roof, which was our goal. Kind of the old, if you build it, they will come, is true. For our waterfowl and upland bird habitat management, we've been very successful, and there's been a lot of other species that have benefited. Like we were looking at some of the wildflowers earlier and the pollinators, and that all wasn't really in our minds when we first put the programs in. We were thinking upland birds, but of course a big part of that is the insect life and the different species that will respond to the habitat that you weren't even thinking about. So it's been a real holistic improvement on the farm from our point of view.